A new beginning, let's go. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padres gang. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Mitchell and Ness with the old school name. All of the homies holler Padre gang. Yeah, that.
And good day, everybody. Welcome on in. It is the Talking Friars Pirates Padres pregame show for April 30th, 2022. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on in here and spending a little bit of your Saturday with me. We got the Padres and the Pirates later tonight, 3:35 p.m. first pitch on the West Coast, 6:35 p.m. on the East Coast, Pittsburgh time. Padres enter this matchup 14-7. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 8-12. The Padres, look at them, tied first place in the National League West with the Dodgers. The Dodgers' win percentage, I think, is better when I looked at the standings this morning than us, so that's why they'd technically be in first if it was based on win percentage. But we're in April, so it doesn't matter. But I like just giving you where the Padres rank going into every game. The Pirates are third place in the National League Central, and they are 5.5 games back. So not as bad as the Cincinnati Reds, but they still are not as good as the Padres. So this is another winnable game with Sean Manaea on the mound going up against JT Brubaker. We will get to that pitching matchup, get to the lineups as well in a little bit. The Padres beat the Pirates last night 7-3. Jake Cronenworth, Ha-Seong Kim both homered. Trace Thompson in his first start with the Padres drove in 2 runs with that single. In his first at-bat, he had a really good long at-bat. He was fouling off pitches, and it led to a walk. And that, after the walk, Ha-Seong Kim hit the 2-run home run. One of the 2 home runs, like I mentioned, from the Padres win last night. Craig Stammen wasn't great again, but the good news was that we have Taylor Rogers, right? And he came in, and he got the save. That was his 3rd straight game of pitching. So I wouldn't think that he'd be available today. We'll get to the bullpen situation. He's only thrown a combined 21 pitches in the last 3 games, but usually managers don't put bullpen guys out there for a 4th straight game, 4th straight day, regardless of how many pitches they threw, because you got to remember, it's not just the pitches that they throw in the game. That's what I log and put out there before every game so that us fans can kind of play manager and see which bullpen arms might be available, who they might go to in certain situations. But they're also counting the pitches that they threw in the bullpen, the pitches during half innings when they're warming up. They're counting all of that stuff. And we might know some things health-wise that they've told or not know some things health-wise that the Padres players have told the trainers or whatever. So obviously I don't know who's actually available or not, but I'm doing my best guess with that, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Valley Sports San Diego, 97.3 The Fan, as always. Eric Hosmer went hitless last night. Dang, he sucks, huh? Not this season so far. He's hitting .397 still after going hitless last night. Michel Baez, I wanted to note this. He made a rehab start, or he's expected to make a rehab start today for Lake Elsinore. He'd been pitching, I think, in Peoria a little bit. Jose Castillo yesterday had one in Lake Elsinore. He went 3 innings, no earned runs, 1 hit, 1 walk, struck out 5. And so he could be a Adrian Morejon type depth option sometime later in the season. Do Zertries, what's up? He says, what's up, Ben? When are you going to have a Hosmer appreciation night? I appreciated him in the last episode of the podcast, the YouTube show, episode 55, after the Cincinnati series. I gave him the series MVP. I edited down a clip on that and put it out there. So there's my Hosmer appreciation, and I'll continue to appreciate him. He's hitting really well right now. I still like the defense to be a little better, but the offense, it's really good right now. You can't complain. You got to appreciate it. Now, today's the last day of April, and I've been saying this, so pay attention now that the calendar flips to May starting tomorrow, and let's see if he continues doing it. I sure hope so. I'm going to continue appreciating him until he, or if he, I'll put it that way, because until he, that kind of sounds a little negative. We'll say if he, I'll continue appreciating him unless he does not continue this, right? If he goes more into a slump, but that's a different story. Right now, he's not in that. He's hitting almost 400. And I mean, last night they walked him to load the bases at the end of last night's game. So other teams know that he's hot. It wasn't. I don't think it was just to put a runner on. Eric Hosmer of old, or someone that's not in April, they would pitch to him. All right, let's see a couple more notes here that just came across the last hour or so before I came on here. Former Reds outfielder Shogo Akiyama signed a minor league deal with the Padres today. According to Dennis Lynn, I think. Oh, no. It was C. Trent Rosecrans, who is a Reds writer for The Athletic. I think the Padres showed interest in Akiyama, if I remember correctly, before he ended up going to the Reds. It ended up being good that they didn't give him that money that the Reds did and didn't give him that major league playing time and that major league deal, because Akiyama was not good with the Reds. He had a career OPS plus with the Reds of 57 and league average is 100. He hit 0 home runs. He's not a power hitter, so he wasn't expected to hit any home runs, but still 0 home runs, and he hit 224 as his batting average. So having him on a minor league deal as a depth outfield option, I guess, and then you hope you find something. I guess that's a good thing. You can't say it's not a good thing because it's a minor league deal. It's not like it's a major league deal where you're giving him a bunch of money and he can, crap the bed again, and you're paying him a ton of money to suck, right? I'm trying to see his contract, how much money the Reds gave him. Because they gave him $21 million. They gave him 3 years, $21 million. So Profar's contract, 3 years, $21 million. And Profar's been better so far than Akiyama was with the Reds. And we have Trent Grisham in center field right now. I know Trent's struggling, but Akiyama struggled with the Reds as well. So that's a minor league deal that happened. The Padres, according to Dennis Lynn, would like to create some flexibility for potential reinforcements on offense. So they have been discussing Dinelson Lamet with other teams in a trade. Lamet is making $4.755 million in his second to last year of arbitration this year. And what I take away from this possible deal, these discussions that are going on with other teams, is that Lamet is going to be better off not on the Padres. You would have thought that he probably should have gotten that Tommy John surgery before 2021, because then he ended up getting hurt again in 2021. That didn't work out. His non-surgery decision, that wasn't great. And I've discussed this plenty of times already this season. What is his role on the Padres right now? Does he have a real solidified role in this Padres bullpen? Because if not, then the Padres are better in dealing him off and getting some offense back. I don't know what they would get back because Lamet just has not been great. There's been some outings this year where he has not given up a run, but he hasn't turned out to the pitcher that the Padres thought that they would get. And you move him to the bullpen, and right now he has a negative WAR, 6 2/3 innings. His WHIP's over 1, a 5.40 ERA. Just looking through his game logs here. He's given up 3 runs in his last 2 outings. His last outing was April 27th against Cincinnati. He went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 2 earned runs on 20 pitches. Faced the Dodgers, gives up a run. That was also a home run that he gave up then. I think, excuse me, what I think about this is I was just playing kind of the numbers game before I came on here. And if they deal Lamet, let's say they deal Lamet, they get someone back that can help offensively. I don't know who that would be, but I don't. Let's just say that guy goes in the minor leagues. He doesn't even go on the major league roster. If they deal Lamet, that's one starter that's one pitcher down. So now you have Clevenger, Snell coming back. So that's two guys on the roster. So that's one additional pitcher. And then you have Martinez moving from the rotation to the bullpen. So now you have Martinez replacing Lamet in the bullpen. And then you have Clevenger replacing Martinez in the rotation. You have Snell coming back in the rotation. So now what is that? So Darvish, Musgrove, Manaea, Gore, Snell, Clevenger. So they would still have 6 guys if Martinez goes to the bullpen. And then you would have the ability to have Gore piggyback Snell or Clevenger, and you have Martinez can piggyback the other. So that's a situation that they could do. So if they trade Lamet, that opens up an easier ability to continue to have all of the guys in the bullpen that you trust, right? You got Taylor Rogers, Luis Garcia, Steven Wilson, Robert Suarez, Chris Matt, maybe, Tim Hill, that's 6, Ray Kerr, maybe. I don't know how many bullpen arms they want, but then you have, if they have 7 bullpen arms, so you include Kerr there. Oh, no, don't include Kerr, actually. Yeah, so let's say they send Kerr down, and Martinez goes in the bullpen. So now you have 7 bullpen arms. Then you add the 6 starters. That's 13. That's probably what they might do, actually. I know that the major league maximum, I think, throughout May now is going to be 14 instead of 13 like it was going to be. They just agreed to that based on pitcher health or whatever. So I think that could be a realistic combination that you see in the rotation and bullpen, combination of just the pitching staff as a whole. But with this Lamet thing, the Padres right now, they have the most runs in the National League, I think. I saw that somewhere on Twitter yesterday, 98 runs combined this year. But let's be real, a lot of these runs that they're scoring are against bad teams. They combined for 6 runs against the Dodgers last weekend, and the next series they scored 24 against the lowly Cincinnati Reds, who, by the way, I think they have 3 wins still. Yeah, they're 3-17. So they're beating the bad teams, which is good, but I think that offense run total number is a little bit not true, I guess. I mean, it's obviously true, but it's a little hiding the fact that they still need offense, right? So I think this would be a smart move because, like I mentioned, going back to it, what is Dinelson Lamet's role on this bullpen? What is this role on his team? Or on this team? What is Lamet's role on this team? I just don't know if the Padres know the answer, and I don't know if the better solution to this is keeping Lamet, not knowing what he's going to give you, and then you don't get any offense. You don't get any more offense. You don't add any more depth to that offense, to the lineup, So it'll be interesting to see who's interested, if there's any trades that get leaked. If it gets trade proposals that get leaked usually don't get done when it's the Padres are involved. So maybe you don't want to see that, but that's the latest on the Lamet situation. Hawkeye Digger says, I would think Lamet could go more than 1 inning. His trade value can't be too high right now. I agree because of what we're seeing out of him right now. Czar says, which is what they didn't do last year, beat the teams they had to. So that's a good thing that the Padres are scoring runs and beating the teams that they couldn't finish off last year. I agree. But I'm just saying that I think it's a little bit – I think you're not looking at it right if you're thinking that the Padres' offense is solved because they're scoring 24 runs against the Reds. Just go look at what they did against the Dodgers. If they want to go win the division this year or do anything, Okay, beat the bad teams. But guess what? The Dodgers and the Giants are going to beat those bad teams as well. So you're going to have to win some of those games against the Dodgers and Giants as well. And that hasn't happened yet this year. They've lost both series to the Giants and the Dodgers so far this year, split to the Braves, which I was fine with taking that split because the offense hadn't gotten going yet. The starting rotation was pretty good. That was coming off Gore's debut on that Friday night, so I was fine with that. But they have not won series against like the World Series contenders, the playoff contenders yet. So I would keep an eye on that. Today's pitching matchup, Sean Manaea against JT Brubaker. Sean Manaea, 3.47 ERA so far this season. He allowed 6 runs in his last start against the Dodgers, gave up those 2 home runs to Cody Bellinger and Freddie Freeman. The Freddie Freeman home run was hit a mile. Bellinger's, I thought, was going to be a flyout, but it ended up going over the center field wall. Bellinger then homered again as well later in that game. That might have actually been off of Lamet. But this is the time for Manaea to get back on track. I know that was his one clunker so far this year, but for him, this is the time to get back on track. You're facing a bad team. You're facing a lineup that has, 2 guys that you might be scared of a little bit, Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes. Other than that, you go attack, and you still go attack Brian Reynolds. He hasn't gotten off to the greatest start so far this year. So this is definitely the time for Manaea to get right and use these next few starts against these bad teams, this 15-game stretch that I was talking about a couple episodes ago, or last episode, where you got 15 games against the Reds, Pirates, Guardians, Cubs, Marlins. Use these games to get better and get right, pitching back how you were pitching like against the Diamondbacks and pretty much every other start so far this season except that Dodgers start. So that's what I see about Manaea today. I would think the same thing as I saw from Darvish yesterday. I said 6 innings for the pregame show yesterday on Darvish, and that's what happened. Manaea, I would expect the same thing. For JT Brubaker, he has a 6.46 ERA this season. He's allowed 8 runs in his first 2 starts of the season, but just 3 runs in his last 2 starts. One was against the Cubs last week. Minimal playing time that the Padres have seen against Brubaker in their careers. Haas and Jake Cronenworth are hitting 500 against Brubaker, but that's off of, 2 at-bats, 3 at-bats against him? 2 at-bats. Yeah, the most someone has on this team against Brubaker is 3. That's Profar. He's hitting 333 off of him. So you can't take any of this really into effect, any of past experiences. But Brubaker, that's another guy that probably you guys, Padre fans, most fans in the league have never heard of. So it's kind of like the rotation or the lineup for Pittsburgh. You just go after him. Just go after him, attack. I will get to that Mike Clevenger news. He is going to start. I just saw this come down here. Mike Clevenger threw his scheduled bullpen session today and is officially in line to make his season debut on Tuesday. Mackenzie Gore remains in the rotation and will pitch on Wednesday. So I'll actually get to that today. I'll just get to that right now before we get to the bullpen situation. So my initial reaction to that is that's great that he's going to get to face Cleveland, his former team. I think that's Cal Quantrill lining up against Clevenger as well. So that's great. That is really, really great. Clevenger against Quantrill, I think, is what it would line up to be on Tuesday. Or it might be Quantrill Wednesday. Whatever it is, having Clevenger back is going to be really, really cool. I like watching him pitch more than Nick Martinez, to be honest, starting. And Clevenger, we gave up a lot of pieces for him in 2020. It didn't work out in 2020. He got hurt and wasn't able to really pitch in that NLDS. Couldn't throw a curveball, and then he had to walk off the mound. 2021, he was out the entire year because of that surgery. And then he's been ramping back up. Then he had to face – he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good off of that, not including that one spring training start where he gave up 8 runs. I think that was him this year. So he looked fine. But then the knee injury happened, and then they shut him down. And that put Nick Martinez into the rotation easily. Then you had the Snell injury, blah, 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 blah. But for Clev, I'm just excited to see him pitch. I don't know what my expectations should be because I didn't watch all of his minor league starts because it's on MILB.TV or whatever it is. So I saw highlights. The numbers looked fine. For me, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy through these first few starts, I think it's going to be good. Even if he has like Nick Martinez numbers, I'll be fine with that because he's working his way back still. Like, to be honest, I think if some major league teams took a lie detector test, they would say, hey, the Padres would like to have our starters rehabbing go 4 starts to really ramp up. Because Clevenger's not even at 80 pitches yet. That's what Bob Melvin said that Clevenger is probably going to get to on Tuesday against the Guardians. So he's not built up. So they could piggyback him and Martinez and then go with that. Or piggyback Clevenger and Chris Matt. Do it that way. But that's the latest news. Gore being in the rotation, that's the right move. The guy struck out 10 and gave it 1 run his last start. He's done everything that he should do to make an impression and stay on this big league team. There was no reasoning viable reasoning, reasoning that would make sense for the Padres to send Mackenzie Gore down after 3 starts where he's given a combined 3 runs. He shut out the Reds his second to last start, gave it 1 run his last start, gave up 2 runs, and it should have been 1 run because the Ozuna bloop single was barely fair to the Braves, which is the defending champs, good lineup, one of the best lineups in the National League. He's done everything that he can do to stay. So I'm glad that the Padres made this decision, and Gore kind of forced their hand and forced it to not really be a decision. He forced them to not really have the choice to send him down because of how great he's impacting the team. Does that mean he's going to be the starter the entire year in this rotation? No. I'll tell you that right now. That's not going to happen because of his innings limit. They're going to limit him at some point. Now, I don't think that they're going to make the same dumb decision as they made last year where they sent Ryan Weathers down to AAA and they said that they need to save his innings, but then they have him pitching and throwing innings in AAA, so you're not saving innings. That's not going to happen with Gore, I don't think. If they're going to save his innings, they're going to save his innings. He can still throw, but just not throw innings in a big league game or a minor league game. That's what I would do with Gore. But that's the latest news there. For the bullpen situation, hold on 1 second. Let me share my screen for this bullpen chart that I make and put out before every Padres game. Here it is. So Taylor Rogers, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, 3 straight games pitching, a combined 21 pitches in the game that counted in these 3 days. So that might not seem a lot, but all the up downs and just pitching 3 days straight this early in the year, I wouldn't expect him to be available today. And so that means that Luis Garcia and Steven Wilson, one of them is going to close today if the Padres have a lead in a safe situation. That's what I would think would happen. Garcia hasn't pitched since 2 days ago, and Steven Wilson's had 2 days off, so he's ready to go. And then you probably have Chris Matt, Lamet. They might have Lamet pitch to showcase him a little bit against a bad team. He hasn't pitched since the 27th. And then Avila and Kerr. I wrote a piece on Gaslamp Ball earlier today about 5 potential players that could be sent down when this roster crunch happens. And a couple of those guys are Pedro Avila and Ray Kerr. And so 2 of those guys, one of them is going to be sent down easily. That's just what's going to happen because it's just a pure numbers game at this point. You have 28 guys right now, and you need it to get down to 26. And 2 of those guys are pitching in blowout games right now. So there's no point in really having them on the roster. So I would think both of them would be sent down, or one of them would be sent down. But that's the bullpen situation going into tonight's game. Let's see. What to watch for is – oh, no, let's get to the lineups. The lineups, the Padres lineup for today. You got Grish leading off, Cronenworth hitting second, Machado hitting third, Profar hitting fourth and left, Hosmer at first in the 5-hole, Kim hitting sixth at short, Matt Beatty and right hitting seventh, Jorge Alfaro in there at catcher for Austin Nola, Alfaro hitting eighth, and then Campy gets Luis Campusano at DH in the 9-hole. It's been a while since he's DH'd. They've had – who did they have yesterday? Profar, I know, DH'd. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Yeah, because they had Thompson in left and Beatty in right. I think they had Profar DHing yesterday. They've had Alfaro in there. Manny was in there, I think, that last game in the Red Series. So this is one of my what to watch fors here for this lineup as it's concerned is Beatty and Campusano. Is this Beatty's last start before the roster crunch? I think he could be sent down because right now you have Trace Thompson that came up. If they want to roll with it would be a 4-man outfield. Profar, Grisham, Thompson, and a Zokar, and then they have Beatty go down, or you have a Zokar go down. I think those are two possibilities. And then you have C.J. Abrams as an emergency backup outfielder who can play there if you need him to, like in right field. But yeah, look at Beatty in that 7-hole. Campusano, you would think that they'd give him more chances. I thought that they should give him more chances because he's one of their top prospects. And it's not like unless they're like using this DH as a rotating resting device, pretty much resting position, which is what they have been the last couple of days. If that happens, then you don't DH Campy. But if everyone's playing and let's say it's Nola having a full day off, then you have Campusano DH. Give him those at-bats. Give him that chance, those opportunities to really succeed. And if you do that, well, then you're going to give him that fair chance. And if he doesn't capitalize on it, then you can send him down. But at some point, you got to figure out who this guy is at the major league level, right? And with Luke Voit on the IL, this is the perfect time to do that. And when Luke Voit comes back, you didn't trade for him to have him sit on the bench, right? So you're going to play him. So I think this is the perfect opportunity. Eric keeps saying, Ben, easy picks. Okay, so I will get to my Padre pick. Yesterday I had Haas. That ended up not being an easy pick because he went 0 for 3. And they intentionally walked him in his last at-bat. So that gave me one less chance. Still counts. So I'm 13-7 so far this season in my pregame show Padre pick. Today I'm going to go Jake Cronenworth. I'm going Crony. Left on right matchup. Brubaker's a righty. Cronenworth had the home run last night. Maybe he's getting on a little bit of a roll here, facing a bad team. Hit in second in the order in front of Manny, who's their second best hitter so far this year. He's my NL MVP so far. He leads the National League in Fangraphs WAR right now. I saw Buster Only tweet that this morning. So I think this is a great spot for Jake Cronenworth. I'm gonna go with Jake as my Padre pick. Let me know who you would go as your Padre pick. Let's see. We'll do some more MLB news and notes here before getting to your questions, any more comments. So if you have any, make sure to drop them in there in the comments. The Mets had a no-no yesterday, a combined no-hitter. I was watching the end of it because it was after the Padre game had ended. It took place at Citi Field against the Phillies. Was it against the Phillies' best lineup? Not necessarily. I mean, Bryce Harper's been dealing with an elbow issue. He's been DHing for the last couple weeks, not even playing the field. And you could see he just wasn't really the same. Like his at-bats, like his swing that I was watching last night, it just didn't look as violent when he's dealing with that type of issue. But 5 Mets combined for that no-hitter. Edwin Diaz closed it out. Tyler McGill started it. So that was the big news of yesterday. Trevor Bauer was suspended for 2 full seasons. I covered that yesterday during the pregame show. The Angels have won 6 straight. Let's see. The Giants are down 2-0 to the Nationals right now in the third. The Yankees scored 12 runs against the Royals last night, 12-2. That Apple TV broadcast, man, I didn't watch all of it, but just listening to the video highlights on that, like the play-by-play announcer, is it Melanie Newman, the Orioles radio announcer or whatever? I mean, that's great that they're putting women in the booth. I'm a huge advocate for that, but you would think that she'd have some more emotion. Like, it felt really monotone. Like, all of the home run calls, like, it felt like I've never done play-by-play, so maybe this is off base, me trying to criticize, but it just seems so monotone and so boring, you know? And just looking on Twitter from the Yankee fans and stuff, they weren't pleased with that broadcast either. Let's see here. Arizona lost to the Cardinals today 2-0. The Dodgers play the Tigers. Dodgers are 13-6, and the Tigers 6-13. That gets underway a little after 7 o'clock San Diego time tonight. So those are some MLB news and notes. Getting to any comments here before we get out of here. This is the Talking Friars Padres Pirates pregame show for April 30th, 2022. We got JT Brubaker on the mound for the Pirates tonight and Sean Manaea for the Padres. A big bounce back opportunity for Sean Manaea tonight. I hope you hit that subscribe button if you're new here. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss a video. You don't miss when I'm going live. I also put out when I'm going live on the Instagram and Twitter accounts as well at Talking Friars. Turbo asked, does Lamet get DFA to make room? I think a trade, there seems to be some type of interest in him, so they're going to trade him and get something back rather than DFA him if those are the only two options. It might not happen. Either of those might not happen, but I think a trade would be more likely there. Anthony says Brubaker is 2-13 last 15 games as an underdog in the price range. The line on the game currently is at, and you didn't say what the line was, so sorry. Onward to a Friar victory. I mean, Brubaker, can't say too much about him. I mean, Manaea is a better pitcher. The Padres have a better lineup than the Pirates. It's pretty simple. They have a better bullpen. Every aspect of them is better than the Pirates, so they should win. All right, I think that's all the comments I see. I appreciate everyone for hopping on here. If you're watching live or on replay, Talking Friars pregame show, April 30th, 2022, Pirates and the Padres tonight at PNC Park, second of 3 here on this Saturday. Ben Fadden signing off. Enjoy the game. I'll be back with the post-game reaction video after the game as always. Enjoy it. See ya.